Well, the evening is pumped up entirely at the India Brand Conclave 2021. Well, from the traditional to new age, our next brand is the one that is known to be a disruptor in online jewelry commerce. From its genesis online and a partnership with Tanishq from Tata's jewelry division, the Caratlane journey today boasts of a strong retail arm. Avnish Anand, the co-founder and COO, Caratlane, today joins us and talks on the topic Caratlane's omnichannel journey of helping customers express their emotions. Well, with this, I'd like to humbly welcome on the screen and stage Mr. Anand. Thank you for joining us and giving us your valuable time. And with this, the stage and screen is all yours. How are you doing today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Bhavna. I'm very pleased to be here and I'm doing great. I hope you are also doing well.
Absolutely. So excited to see you. And as they say, the jewels always shine, and you shall shine on the screen as well. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Somebody's going to project, right?
Sure, I'll just check with the team. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
actually, in this session today, there are, I think, 4 or 5 things which I'll try and cover, starting with Caratlane's journey, how we became an omni-channel brand, how we have been using digital, uh, also how we have fared in the pandemic, and to finally on what's the brand situation like, right? What do we do as a brand and where we are headed on that. So I'll just start off by quickly taking you through the history of the brand, right? Like where we started and where we are today. So like you rightly mentioned, the genesis of the brand was done because there was a big opportunity which we had seen, and there was a big opportunity to disrupt that, right? And to understand that, I think if you go to the first slide, uh, it is to give you a sense of where the Indian jewelry market was in around 2008 when Caratlane started. That was a time when jewelry was really, for the rich person, right? Not for everybody. It was bought for very, very special occasions like weddings. And it was something, like I said, right, which was a very high priced category, which was sold in large stores, which was very, very inventory based. So that was how the market was at that point in time, right? It was not a democratized category as such. And that was what we saw as an opportunity. So, when Mithun started the business in 2008, the way it changed for Caratlane is that our objective was to make beautiful jewelry for everybody. You can just move to the next slide. Yeah, so, and based on what we saw on the previous slide, we realized that there was a big opportunity to make jewelry for everybody, right? To make jewelry a more democratic category, to make it at affordable price points, which was not, at the wedding kind of price points, but in the sub 20, sub 40K price points. And there was, that was not a price point which was paid attention to at that point in time. It was not where you could get a lot of great designs. And there was also an opportunity to bring in a lot of digital play, right, and make it more accessible, right, to all parts of the country. So that was how it all started way back in 2008. And I don't know if many of you would remember, that was the time where we didn't even have Amazon in India. So it was quite an ask. But we also felt that there was a clear opportunity back then, and which is why we went ahead and we started creating beautiful jewelry. And then, like you mentioned, that we started selling it online first. So that was how it all started, right? So yeah, you can move to the next slide. That essentially what it meant was that this is how, this is like the framework of how we wanted to disrupt the industry. It all started with design. That it was jewelry for everybody, which had to be lightweight and very, everyday kinds, right? Which you could wear every day. And it was for everybody, right? It was not aimed at a certain segment. Obviously, our digital elements of our business, right, whether it was on the website or the way we delivered or our supply chain, allowed us to make it more affordable for people. And there was a lot of innovation which actually happens on the jewelry manufacturing and designing, which a lot of people don't realize. But the innovation is not just on technology or on the website or the digital parts of the business, but even on how we make our jewelry, how we design our jewelry as such. So that was, how the whole business started. This was the playbook for us in terms of how we thought we could disrupt the industry. And yeah, I think we have been very lucky that it's all worked out well for us so far, and we are where we are today. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a short summary of the important timelines of for our business. So obviously, it all started in 2008. And in our efforts to improve our conversion, right, because this is one of the hardest categories for conversion, a lot of things were started, right? We started try at home for the same reason in 2013. Then we introduced stores, we introduced same day shopping. A very important part in our journey was the investment by the Titan company in 2016, which also the association with Titan helped us in a big way in terms of our building the trust for the brand, as well as expanding our retail footprint, because that was something we learned from them, and they did that really, really well. And then we obviously we started giving out stores to franchises, and the retail expansion started in a big way. And in the last few years, we have obviously now reached 100 stores. We have launched another brand called Shaya, and a few other things which have been launched, which are all in the same direction, which is to solve conversion and to try and use improve the experience of the customer. And the playbook for Caratlane in all of these years has been very simple. That we first have to make beautiful jewelry which people love, which is in the price points in which we operate, which I mentioned earlier, right? Largely in the sub 40, sub 50K price points. And then to create a very digital driven experience, I would not just call it a digital experience, which makes sure that right from the point of discovery to the point of browsing and shortlisting and then trialing out the product, because this is a category where trial is very important. And then to make the final purchase, that whole experience is done in a manner which is great for the customer. And I think that is the core element of any DTC brand, right? So I think that's something which we have tried to do in the last 13 years. I think we have gotten a lot better at it, but obviously there's a lot more to do. So that's more or less the history of what we have done in the last 13 years. The next thing I want to talk about is how digital works for us. I was listening to the previous session also, and people were talking about non-linear journeys. In our case, it is even more extreme, because it's there is discovery of the brand, the jewelry. There's a lot of time which goes into the shortlisting of the category of the product per se, because in almost every situation there are multiple people involved also, right? And because it's jewelry, there are multiple checks which you need to have. You want to make sure that you like the design, or if you're gifting, you want to make sure the recipient will like the design. You want to check the price. You want to make sure that the quality is okay. You want to make sure that you will get it on time. You want to trial the product. So the number of touch points which happen are very, very high, and as compared to most other categories, which are also similar, right, in the sense that omni or digital. So I just want to share some examples of real use cases which happen each and every day. And it is this understanding which has helped us create the whole experience for our customers using a lot of digital methods, which have now expanded to stores. So we can move to the next slide and play some of those videos. Yeah. Yeah, actually we can move. This was a backup slide in case the video didn't work. So essentially, as you would have seen, there are different kinds of customer journeys depending on what they want. But one thing is clear, that it involves multiple touch points and there are multiple stages in the customer's journey. And that's how, the whole building of the customer experience depends on how you identify each type of journey, and then you build a solution so that you are able to connect one point to the other in a manner that it does not create friction. The experience is nice and you're able to close the loop quickly. Because you might feel that, is jewelry a category where people want it on the same day? Then the answer is yes. And that is thanks to a lot of forgetful men. But even otherwise, I think in today's consumerist age, I think the immediate gratification is something which all of us crave. And I think a lot of it is because of Amazon, who's made us used to getting everything so fast. And I think even in jewelry, we see that all the time, that everybody wants the product really, really fast. So the whole journey needs to happen quickly, which is why it's important that as the customer moves from one touch point to the other, the next touch point needs to quickly understand and then keep nudging the customer towards the end goal. So that's how digital works for us. And this is something which has happened very organically. In fact, the next thing which I want to talk about is how we became an omni brand. And actually, the answer is that there was no plan or a goal to become omni. Actually, we were just focused on continuously understanding what is stopping the customer from buying or browsing or trialing, and how can we make that better, right? Or to just figure out what is stopping them from converting, right? So essentially, conversion is the key goal. And in the process of doing that, we kept solving problems by building new solutions like try at home or try in a store. And at one point in time, we even tried a try on app. And that's how we kind of became an omni-channel brand. And that was what it is called now. But that is how this whole journey has happened for us. That the focus is to solve for conversion and experience, and eventually everything will happen, right? And an important part of this is obviously to make sure that you understand all the various journey types, right? There are different kinds of occasions of which jewelry is bought. There are different type of consumers across the length and breadth of this country, right? Young and old, male and female, buying for various types of occasions, for self or for others. So the more you understand the journey, the more you are able to create a digitally enabled journey which allows the customer to move forward, right? The last part which I want to talk about in the Omni part is that, and we have gone through this ourselves, is to really understand what is the impact, right? Because a lot of times we might feel that opening stores is easy, but it's also an expensive proposition. If you don't open a store in the right place, or if you don't get your store model right, it can be a very expensive proposition also. So I think what we now understand very well is all the things which change once you open a store, for example, or if you introduce the try at home service in a certain location, which so you understand, how it changes the brand awareness, how it changes conversion, how it changes your repeat buying, how it impacts your ASP, what other parts of the funnel get impacted. And I think that understanding has now given us the confidence to kind of go after it in a more aggressive manner, because you understand it, right at the pin code, catchment, city, state, region level, which category works, which categories don't work. And I think that is a very, very important part of the whole Omni thing, is to understand how is it helping your business. Because once you know that, then you know that it's going to work for you, not in terms of this growth, but even profitability and the whole economics of building a model like that. And I think once you get that right, then it's great, essentially, because it solves so many problems. It's obviously a much better experience for the customer. Yeah, we can now go to the next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the things which work because you have an Omni experience. I think I already spoke about it, so I'll just move to the next part of the presentation. So the next thing which I want to talk about is obviously the pandemic, which I think a lot of people spoke about in the previous session also. And we know what happened at that point in time, right? It was not only difficult in terms of not getting what the government called your essential commodities, but it was also a very difficult time for everybody in terms of the stress and the emotional duress which people went through. And one of the things which, from a whole business point of view, which changed is that a lot of things were denied to people, right? You could not go out, you could not travel. For the longest time, you could not even order online till the government opened it up and certain non-essential commodities like jewelry and other consumer products were allowed. But one thing which we saw very clearly that there are certain things which don't stop COVID or no COVID, right? That people still want to celebrate their important occasions. People want the high which you get from retail therapy. People want the small joys which you get, right, when you buy something and you get it at home. So all of that was happening, and it for a lot of categories it actually got enhanced because so much was actually denied to people. Also, I think the economics changed because you were not spending money on a lot of things, but you had money for other stuff. And a whole in whole, while obviously COVID is the worst thing which I think has one of the worst things which has happened for humanity, but in a way, uh, there was like this silver lining in a way which changed a lot of things, right? And I think some categories or some industries obviously benefited a lot, while some of them were really badly hit. And I would say that a lot of the consumer goods categories, right, like electronics or even fashion and jewelry, really benefited from it because I think it brought a lot of emotional relief also for people, and it helped them, at least have some celebration and some joy going on for them. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So I think the consumer behavior, like a lot of people have already mentioned that one thing which changed was because people who were not used to digital, right, in their sense, and I can speak for our category that we know that a lot of people were still not comfortable with the whole idea of digital, and not just for the part about buying, but even browsing or paying online. And we could see that, right, that there were some customers who wanted to use COD or wanted to come to the store and pay cash, or actually even come and pay at the store through their credit card. And they definitely wanted to come and trial. All of that changed. All of that changed in a big way, to the extent that now we don't even have a COD offering. And it used to be like a big thing for us once upon a time. And we can clearly see that, especially for people in small towns also, and a lot of people of slightly older age, right, who otherwise would have not been comfortable making payments online. I think all of that changed, and I think that has, I think, we were at it for 11 years, right, and we were trying to change the buying behavior of consumers when it came to jewelry. I think whatever changes we made in the first 11 years, a lot more happened in the last 2 years because of the pandemic, honestly. And a lot of behaviors which were very difficult initially to change, the pandemic changed all of that. And the good thing is that a lot of it has, even after the pandemic ended, I would not say ended, but once the lockdown ended rather, and people were back and back to the stores, even then some of these behaviors have sustained. While a lot of people who wanted to go to the stores and were denied that opportunity have again started going back to the stores in droves. But most of them have now changed the way they browse. Many of them have obviously become more comfortable buying. So I think it's, and we also were wondering whether this would be sustainable or this would again go back to what it was before the pandemic started. But I think now there is enough evidence and enough of a long-term evidence over the last couple of years that this behavior is now here to stay. And I think that's a great thing for businesses like ours, right, which are digitally driven and which are, omni-channel in that sense. And I think what has also changed is that now the industry, and not just our industry, but all other industries have also realized that. And because of that, there is a lot of change happening in all these other companies also, which would have been traditionally more retail focused. And so they are obviously becoming more and more digital. It's also doing wonders for the ecosystem. And when I say the ecosystem, which means all the various kinds of service providers, whether it is logistics or software development or all the other kinds of solutions which are there to enable the whole digital ecosystem or the e-commerce ecosystem. And typically, while an industry like jewelry would not have had so much available because nobody designs services and solutions for the jewelry industry. But now that all the big players and the small players are trying to become digital, now that is starting to change. So that's actually helped the whole digital omni part as well. We can move to the next slide. Yeah, I think I already spoke about it. So yeah, this is how the whole pandemic change happened. So it worked, pandemic related change happened rather. So it worked well for us. And the industry has also changed, the consumer has also changed. And I think the really, really big change has happened in the mindsets. So a lot of tough decisions or changes which people were not ready for. I think now it's made everybody more flexible and amenable for change. And I think it's going to be great for the industry, the jewelry industry, and I think a lot of other categories also, because eventually the customer is going to benefit because everybody is going to offer a better experience, right? And we can clearly see that now, we have also seen more and more competition on the digital part, right? Because everybody's advertising, everybody's trying to build solutions. And while it's going to become tougher for people like us in some areas, I think overall the industry and the consumer are going to both benefit, and that's great actually. Yeah, the next slide. So if you ask us that what worked for us during the pandemic, I think we were obviously very ready for this because a lot of other people were we had to start building their digital solutions from scratch, right? And it takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and especially when you are large organizations, I think it takes a lot of time to get everything in place, hire people, train them, get your processes in place. So in that sense, we were very ready. So, the moment shipping started, we could see that our business started to really pick up, and I think we really benefited. And for some months, we actually ended up doing more than what we had planned in terms of our original target for the year also. So in that sense, it was at least parts of the year were very good for us. And it all came down to the fact that we were we were ready for this digital world, more ready than a lot of others. So even though the business for the category shrank, we were able to get a larger share of it because we were more prepared for it. I think the second thing and the equally important thing was that as an organization, I think we just had more agility because we are smaller and we are used to working in that way. That as the situation changed, we were able to react to it very quickly. So if one city opened, we could turn on or turn off our marketing like literally a second's notice. Logistics also reacted to that very quickly. We could move inventory very fast, even though people were all working from home, but they were able to do a lot. And I'll just share a couple of examples of that. All our stores were shut, right? And we had more than 100 stores. But very quickly, we were able to train them to start calling customers. So that almost every store started calling their customers based on who was interested, right? Or who wanted to still buy. And, literally we had 100 new telecalling centers up and running. And it really helped because people were engaged and customers also wanted to buy. So we were very careful of who we were speaking to. And we were only speaking to people who solicited an interest to purchase jewelry or who wanted to buy something. It also helped our business partners because you make money. So those were difficult times. So I think it also helped people financially that we were able to do that. The second thing was that, we are a category where we have to keep launching stuff all the time. Now imagine that it's the pandemic, everything is closed. So even though you have new jewelry to launch, how do you do the shoot? And one of the people in the creative team actually got the jewelry delivered to her house. She got it shot on her family at home, and we were able to launch it. So, this is not something which was planned at the central level, but I think it was just people who showed enough hustle to come up with ideas, right? At that point in time, whatever problem we faced. And it really helped us in that sense. So I think we are very grateful that we had that kind of agility for that situation. Yeah, we can move to the next. Yeah. So now I'm going on the last part of this presentation, which is on the brand part. So, when we started, our original premise, and not that that premise has changed, was to make beautiful jewelry which was affordable and accessible for everybody, right? And as we have gone through our journey in the last 13 years, and as we have studied customers and we have studied journeys and we have understood the use cases, we really slowly started to understand the purpose, what, the job which jewelry served for people. And what I have over here is a framework which we use in Caratlane, which is a jobs to be done theory, which is a very famous framework which was put together by uh, Professor Clayton Christensen, who was, I think, one of the greatest professors when it came to strategy. So he has and for people who are not aware of this, I would highly recommend that you go online and you read about it. Is a framework which helps us understand that what is the purpose for which people buy our products, right? It's not just for the product benefit, but there are often other emotional needs which our products serve for them, and there is a certain emotional reward which customers are seeking. And inherently jewelry is a very emotional category, so we could see that there was a lot of emotion involved in the reasons for which people were buying and gifting, etc. So this is a framework which we use a lot to understand what is that we are doing, right? And a lot of our brand work and our marketing communication work is built on this. So if you move to the next slide, I'll share that what we have learned over the years, right? Over the last 13 years. The next slide, please. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So these are some examples of what we have learned over the years, right? What people say about Caratlane when they buy our products. And what we realized was that obviously there was a lot of gifting happening and a lot of self-buying also. And we realized that people buy it for the smallest occasions, and sometimes it could be the most, you could feel that these are the most trivial things, right? And very, very personal moments also. So essentially, the whole the fact that we were building jewelry which was so affordable, right? The kind of price points at which we make it, and the kind of jewelry also which we make, right, which gives you a reason to keep buying it again and again. That it was in a way serving this purpose for them, that you, whatever the occasion or whatever the need which you had, right, to celebrate in your life, you are buying it. And essentially, as we kept understanding this, we have kind of refined our proposition, which was earlier to say that it was, everyday affordable jewelry for everybody every day, to build and, to refine that proposition to say that essentially we are in the business of helping people express their emotions, right? And we have seen that more and more during the pandemic, that the only reason people were buying is that it was bringing them a lot of emotional relief, right? That you wanted to do something for a loved one who was down during this period, or if you had an occasion to celebrate and that was the only bright spot in your life, or you had, you just did something great at work and you wanted to celebrate that. That each of these things, if you study and you try and understand that, then you realize that there is an emotion which is involved in this, right? And people either want to express that emotion which they feel for themselves or for a loved one. So, in terms of the brand and the marketing work which we do, I think the story, and because this is a brand conclave, so this is essentially what we do, right? And this is what we have essentially narrowed down our core business objective to be, is to help people, and that's the last slide, and we can move to that, uh, which is to help people express their emotions. And there's a lot of work which we are doing on that, and hopefully you will see more of how we can help you do that over the next few years. So yeah, that's more or less the story of Caratlane and what we have done in terms of being an omni brand, or what we did during the pandemic. So yeah, that's it from me, Bhavna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anand. We'd love to engage further, but unfortunately, due to time constraint, we'd have to cut the conversation right now. But definitely, we'll be in touch. And thank you for all the expertise and experience you shared. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhavna.